Are you doing Slimming World, but SYNS are confusing, taking over your mind, or causing you to panic when choosing foods? In this video, I'm going to be answering 3 important questions. Number 1, are SYNS good or bad? Number 2, are SYNS secretly sabotaging your relationship with food? And number 3, is there a better way to diet so you can reduce these constant questions and thoughts about food in your head? First of all, if you're doing Slimming World, you know what SYNS are, but let's just take a little deeper look so you can understand the rest of this video. Slimming World SYNS, and we all know what that refers to, are designed to help you control your calorie intake by separating higher calorie foods into this special SYN category that Slimming World put limits on per day, usually around 15. And while this might look like a clever way to reduce foods that hurt your weight loss, it does create a lot of problems for members. First, SYN values aren't always related to calories, so it doesn't really make much sense. A good example here is the mashed banana versus a whole banana. Also, Slimming World sometimes change the SYN value of foods. A very big example here, which a lot of people talked about, were the Muller Light yogurts. And also some highly nutritious foods are high in SYNS, for example, avocados. Some people also save up SYNS for bigger treats or binges, so it doesn't really help if you suffer from emotional eating. And quite a lot of people end up obsessing over SYNS just due to the confusing nature of them. If any of these resonate with you, I'd love to know. So let me know which of them in the comments. And also, SYNS have quite a lot of links to disordered eating behaviors too, whether you realize it or not. And one of which is simply the stress and overwhelm and all the constant thinking about what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, and analyzing, which often causes cravings and then the wants for more SYNS to release that stress. Before we go on, I'm Harry and I make videos about losing weight and being happy. If that sounds good to you, please subscribe. And this leads me nicely on to question 1. Are SYNS good or bad? To answer that, I need to take you over to my kitchen. So I'm going to use my blender cup here to explain to you how there are no good or bad foods. Let's just imagine that this is like your body's fuel tank. Each day, you need to fill it to get enough energy to survive. If you eat more than you need, you end up in a surplus and it spills out and you store it as body fat. But what causes it to spill out? Is it particular foods or total calories you eat? And what happens if you eat really healthy, low-calorie foods at the end of the day, and it's that causes it to spill out? Now let's create an example where I need 2,000 calories per day to function. I've been eating throughout the day, and in there's a banana, which is around 80 calories. And by the end of the day, I've eaten 1,950 calories, and I ate this chocolate bar, which is around 240 calories. So this chocolate bar actually just pushes me over that 2,000 calorie limit. So what this means is I've eaten more than I need, so I start storing this extra bit as fat. Now let me explain another scenario. We start with the same 2,000 calories. This time I eat the 240 calorie chocolate bar earlier in the day, so it's well within my 2,000 calories. By the end of the day, I've reached 1,950 calories again, but this time I ate the banana at the end of the day. Now the banana, the 80 calorie banana, has pushed me over my calorie limit and I start to store the extra bit as fat. So what does this mean? In the first case, it was the chocolate bar that made me put on weight. In the second case, it didn't. It was the banana. Which is good and which is bad? The answer is neither. There are no good or bad foods. It's the total calories in your day, in your week, in your month or year. It was just unlucky that the chocolate bar was at the end of the day and was the food that made me go over my limit. And it was just unlucky that the banana was at the end of the day and was the food that made me go over my limit in the second scenario. We shouldn't be singling out or demonizing individual foods. Every food has its place in your diet. If you're eating a chocolate bar and you're keeping within your daily calorie needs, it's not going to make you put on fat. However, I need to explain something really important, so watch on. This chocolate bar, you can see how big this is. It has 240 calories. This banana has around 80 calories. So for this one chocolate bar, I can actually eat 3 bananas. What this means is that imagine you're on a diet and you're struggling with hunger. Which do you think will keep you fuller? This small chocolate bar or 3 bananas? With bananas, you can eat a lot of food for very few calories. With a chocolate bar, the calories are packed into a much smaller volume of food, so don't fill you up as much. So you have to consider this when you plan your meals. It could be 2,000 calories and not much food, or it could be 2,000 calories and a lot of food. So I hope that's clear. There are no good or bad foods. And that leads me on to question 2. Are Slimming World SYNS secretly sabotaging your relationship with food? Imagine yourself as an artist in a studio. You have a limited palette, which is your daily calorie allowance, with a variety of vibrant paints, the healthy foods at your disposal. However, there's a cabinet of restricted foods with SYNS, filled with unusual, highly pigmented paints, these unhealthy treats. And you decide to ration your usual paints, the healthy foods, to save up for a future masterpiece where you can use all these exotic paints from the cabinet, basically binge on unhealthy treats. This approach leads to limited creativity. So by restricting yourself to a limited palette, you might struggle to create your most inspired work. Basically, nutrient deficiencies can hinder your energy and well-being. The locked cabinet with its exotic paints, the unhealthy treats and SYNS, becomes a constant source of distraction, hindering your focus on using the available paints creatively. So basically enjoying a balanced diet. And so the problems with SYNS I see are, number one, they don't take into account how active you are in a particular day. So you might need more, you might need less. Number two, labeling them and focusing on them so much that it gives them a lot of value. Number three, you think about how to carefully spend them, which again creates a lot of focus on them. And number four, there's often uncertainty over the SYN values of certain foods, creating extra thoughts and stress. And you often debate whether you want to spend them or not. And you often save them up to eat in a way that's totally unaligned with your values or healthy eating. And because there's a SYN limit, if you go over them, you may feel like you've gone off track, and so may tell yourself, oh, I've ruined the diet and I may as well make the most of it now, have a binge and start again on Monday. And SYNS put this huge focus on singling out and labeling foods as if they're different to every other food. Over time, this creates a lot of feelings, emotions, and disordered behaviors. Here are some things that people have said on the Slimming World diet. The night following my weigh-in, I would pig out on all the foods I'd restricted before. I quickly came to associate low-calorie foods as free or good, and anything above 100 calories as bad. These consultants have no mental health awareness, no nutritional awareness, and no concept of what to look out for when it comes to eating disorders. The very fact that Slimming World has labelled foods as SYNS encourages people to make the connection that these foods are bad. So now let's answer question 3. How can you reduce the constant food chatter and thoughts in your head? And is there a better way to diet? The answer is quite simple. You need to simplify your eating to take away the confusion. Instead of a diet like Slimming World, which uses a lot of food rules, let's switch you to an eating pattern and structure instead. An eating pattern is a lot simpler and more flexible and gets you much better long-term results. And it's simply a framework of how to set out your meals based on reducing calories and losing weight while still nourishing your body. So this is how you do it. You design your meals around a good protein source, but also a good portion of vegetables. You then add in carbs and fats as required. And then over the week, you allow yourself some flexibility by adding in some of your super favorite foods in appropriate amounts. And I know that's quite a brief explanation. So if you want to know exactly how to do this, I've created a full guide and I'm giving it away to you for free today. So you can grab it right here. However, none of this will work for you if you get cravings and emotional eat. So if this is a problem for you, watch this video next.